80-year-old Joe Biden is ready for a makeover. The fossil in chief is touring America and trying to get voters to like him again. Joe 2.0 wants to boost his popularity before making his extremely delayed 2024 launch official. But on day one, he can't let go of attacking extreme MAGA Republicans.
Invest in Americans, give them opportunity, invest in ourselves. And it's working. But unfortunately, extreme MAGA Republicans, not all, but extreme MAGA Republicans are threatening to undo all this progress. They're putting our economy in jeopardy by threatening to refuse to pay America's bills. They want to cede our clean energy future to China, to make us dependent on overseas supplies and supply chains, export jobs overseas. I've got news for you, and for MAGA Republicans in Congress, not on my watch. We're not going to let them undo all the progress we made.
Oh, boy. But it is an uphill battle for Biden because voters aren't buying what the old dog is selling. Only a quarter of Democrats actually want him to run for re-election. And it's slim pickings if Biden decides to sit out on the sidelines. Kamala and Mayor Pete aren't exactly sending a thrill up anyone's leg. And while Joe is begging people to support him, it's getting very interesting on the Republican side of the aisle. Former President Trump going after his main competitor, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
There was no way Ron was going to beat Gillum. So he got the nomination, but there was no way, because this guy was going to be the future of the Democrat Party. And I said, Ron, you can beat this guy. Let's go. I got him the nomination. By the way, couldn't have never gotten the nomination. He would be working in either a pizza parlor place or a law office right now, okay? And he wouldn't be very happy. And he's going to run, but he's getting crushed now in the polls because he did a little things like voting against Social Security, voting against Medicare. His numbers aren't very good on COVID.
You know, Shannon, welcome to the show.
Good to be.
You know what this is? It's like you kind of, if you're a Republican, you don't want to be the second in line at the beginning, because that's when you get it the worst, right? Like, it's like DeSantis, you want to be the third person. You want to be like Youngkin. Does that make sense? What do you make of this? The roast has begun.
It has, and DeSantis isn't even officially in yet. You know, there's this whole PAC infrastructure and all these conversations about whether he's going to get in, but maybe he's been listening to your political advice, Greg, and he doesn't want to be the next one in line. Right now, he's got a little bit of a buffer with Nikki Haley, and the president's called her disloyal and gone after her a little bit. Vivek Ramaswamy is in, and so we'll see. But can I say about the president, the current one, reinventing himself, I went through to think about all of the different audiences where he's talked about that he was raised in the Puerto Rican community, that he went to shul more than most Jewish people. He's a student of Persian culture. He's been an 18-wheel truck driver. He has also been a coal miner, although his team says he was kidding about that. That he got his start out of an HBCU, and that he beat up Corn Pop.
Yes.
So he's had a lot happen in his life. He can morph to a lot of different audiences.
That is true. That is true. You know, Judge, of course, so he's trying to do this reinvention, but everything he talked about is exactly what Trump promised. It's amazing.
That's what's so hysterical about this. He wants this, invest in America.
Yeah.
It basically is make America great.
Yeah.
And this is a man who has as his policy, make America last, who now is coming out and saying, I'm investing in America. Look how great it is. Look at these numbers. No one has done what I've done. Well, you know what? No one has come out of a COVID epidemic where everything was flatlined. That's why any increase that he says is historical is even significant, because there was nothing that went before it. But you know what cracks me up is that 51% of the Democrats don't even know who they want to run for president. And the Democrats, that's because they have no bench at all. They've got Buttigieg and they've got Kamala. They don't know what they're doing. At least the Republicans have a deep bench. And, you know, the Democrats don't like him. So what's going to happen? He can't lie his way out of this. He just can't.
You know, Jessica, according to that poll, 25% want Biden to run again, which is consistent with 25% of the population being crazy.
I didn't know that was the official
Yeah,
stat.
it's 25%.
Yeah. Well, I am looking at you 30% with no preference, and I'm adding you to the I want Biden to run, and so he's crushing it. The way that I look at it.
Oh, you and your math, Jessica.
I hate it when I have to do that. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Republicans underestimate Joe Biden at their own peril. This is what they thought in 2020. It was going to be no problem. He's a basement dweller. You know, Corn Pop wasn't even real. He ended up being real. He's got no policies, whatever, he wins. Then Democrats overperform in the 2022 midterms as well. So A general election is always going to be tough. I think that what's going on with Trump and DeSantis is very frustrating. I'm hearing from a lot of Republicans that it's frustrating for them. People who even like Trump but don't hate DeSantis have seen no reason to go after a hugely successful governor from a state that was kind of a shining example of how you get through COVID. Jason Chaffetz was on earlier, and he was a big supporter of President Trump, and he said that interview was absolutely horrific. Brian Kilmeade on Fox and Friends also talking about it. Like, who comes out for a big rally with everything that's going on and just spends all of this time praising the January 6th folks? They have the January 6th choir. Like, move forward on this. Give your policy agenda for what's to come, not necessarily looking back at it. So I feel pretty good about Biden's position. In terms of who's on the bench, people will emerge. If he doesn't run, he is running. There are plenty of people who are going to step up to do this. We know Gavin Newsom would get involved, Gretchen Whitmer. I love Jared Polis out of Colorado, a little libertarian energy. I doubt that he would do it, but
He's an interesting guy.
he's amazing.
Yeah. Very interesting.
A lot of Republicans like him.
What's his name?
Maybe not Jesse.
I never heard of
Jesse's
who's-
Jared Polis.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Jared-
definitely governor.
The governor?
The
Oh.
governor of Colorado.
Wait, Colorado has a governor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I got to get back into
You're not on the
politics.
Polish train?
Yeah.
You better get on now, Greg.
Exactly. You know, Jesse,
Oh,
it
I'm
seems to
sorry.
me
The Polish train's leaving the station.
the Democrats seem to be losing working class families, especially because they've asserted the supremacy of activism over parents. And I think that's the big weakness. The more they do that, I think the more trouble they're going to be in. What say you?
I would agree. And it doesn't matter how many white construction workers you put behind the president. You got Mayor Pete out there saying there's too many white construction workers. So that's just Joe's legacy, that he's this middle-class guy. But if you look at his results, he doesn't excite Democrats and he doesn't pay Democrats. People aren't making money under Joe Biden. Under the last 2 years, stock market's only up 4.5%. And wages are down. So with Democrats, you either have to make the money or you have to excite them. And there's no Camelot. People don't love Joe Biden. You don't hear from Joe Biden. You don't see from Joe Biden. Doesn't send thrills up, down anybody's leg. It's just not there. So people are looking around. And they're looking around. And, they might have to settle again. What's that famous line that was it Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line?
It's the other way.
They did the opposite last time. Something like that.
Yeah,
but they might
just the
have to
opposite.
they might have to fall in line again under Joe Biden. DeSantis is taking a bruising. I used to think it was smart of him to stay quiet when he was just being governor and Trump started to hit him. He's suffering. He is bleeding. He is painting him as this rhino, consultant-driven guy who doesn't have what it takes. And Ron's quiet. And if I were Ron, I would start talking. Because every day that goes by that Trump draws blood, by the time you get in an announcement situation, you are going to be bloodied up.
But he got criticized. He pushed back a little. He said, I don't have any experience paying off porn stars. And then he was criticized. What is he supposed to do?
It is a daily pummeling that Trump is laying on this guy. And how many more weeks and months is this going to sustain itself? Ron's got to come out and say something, or else he's just going to limp into this primary.
That's why you got to be number 3.
Vivek?
Yes.
Ramaswamy?
He's going to sneak on through.
Watch out.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.